I want a sandwich. Now. Oh, sandwich wench. Yo, wench. Sandwich. Now. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. Sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. Sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. Oh, sandwich wench. I want a sandwich. Sandwich. Hello everyone, welcome back to another political recap stream here on the Moisky Live channel. It's been a couple of weeks, don't worry, we're just having... Did I hear a cat meow? Joining me to discuss some political stuff, I'm sure, and other BS, is TrupsLP. Say hello, Trups.
Hello, Trups.
How is Trups?
Trups is doing okay. He was not here last week because, well, my internet went out, and mine and like 100 plus other people
Died.
Yeah, still don't know what the cause was. They said it was a DNS resolution issue, which could mean fucking anything.
That is a very nebulous, cop-out term.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, I theorized that they got DDoSed.
You know, that's not so far-fetched. That's not so far-fetched.
Yeah, I would say that was probably the reason why. But I will never know. All I know is that they had to come and actually replace my router because it couldn't resolve a MAC address anymore, which was total bullshit.
It does sound it, to be honest. But I'm glad you're back, because obviously we had a lot to cover last week, but we didn't get to it. We might cover some this week. Who knows? How's your week been anyway?
Oh, my week was doing pretty good, actually. I mean, I just came back from work.
Yeah.
Because I was out. I was a teeny bit loud. Okay.
I'll turn you down a little bit on my end. It's fine.
Okay. I was out and about doing some work in Philly.
How exciting is that?
I mean, it's all right. I shouldn't say in Philly.
I know
near Philly.
I know why it's saying you're coming across a bit loud. Because on my end, I could never balance out audio. Remember, and so no matter what I do, I'm always quieter or too loud. It's just impossible to balance us at the moment.
That's because I never have a standard, like, sitting far away or close to the microphone.
Yeah.
So it constantly throws Meg for a loop. And that is my fault.
Yeah. When I edit the audio, I then see the disparity. It's hilarious, really, because one of us is always really quiet and the other one's really loud. And it always rotates between the two of us. It gets worse when I start laughing, because then it gets really fucking loud. Yeah. Don't recommend.
Indeed. But otherwise, I mean, I had a good week regardless of, working.
That's fantastic.
I would say that I do enjoy some of the trips, but I'm a homebody. I like being home. I don't like going out.
You're not really an introvert, though, are you?
Not exactly.
More a hobbit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually quite accurate.
Get your pipe out.
I feel more hobbit-like.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
I enjoy people, but my people, not other people.
Yeah, exactly. Hobbits enjoy their own company.
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
And we can be very extroverted with our own people. So yeah, I would say that's quite accurate. Of course.
Nothing wrong with that. Just replace the ale they like to brew with Knob Creek and you're fine.
Yes, I have not gotten I've not bought myself alcohol for quite some time, actually.
I'm very sorry to hear this.
It's okay. I've been... Well, I haven't bought anything for, like, home. I usually will... The worst thing is when you go out to a bar, right? Because bars will overcharge the shit out of you.
They do.
That's why the only time to ever go to a bar is during a happy hour.
We don't really do that over here that much.
I actually went while I was working. I went to like a pub,
Oh, really?
and yeah, with my coworker, and they had $4 mojitos. I was
This
so happy.
is this good? Yeah.
I like mojitos. Yeah,
I've never had a mojito, so I don't know what they are.
rum, mint. Uh, some people
I
also
mean,
will do mojitos with like gin.
you had me
Some
at
people
rum,
do.
to be honest. I won't drink much gin, but I'll definitely drink rum. You stick that in front of me in any form except for Malibu, and I will drink it
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not a white girl.
Yeah, it's usually white.
I'll have to try it sometime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm glad you had a
it's
good week. That's good
yeah. I
news.
would say so. How about you? What did you do?
I've carved a rather interesting window for myself of late, with content being my main job. I've been 2 days ahead of myself for a while. So today I was working on something for December, which makes fuck all sense now, but in December, I promise you it'll make more sense. And the end of year review stuff I do, don't I make them over the course of the year. Well, I did a research stream on this channel last night. Today I made the segment for it. Because instead of making videos for today on the main channel, I'd already made them on Wednesday. Which I don't want to be doing, but I need to be able to do these things. I changed my gym schedule. Basically,
Okay.
I go in. I come back from work at 9:30. I have breakfast and I go straight to the gym now. Whereas before, I wouldn't go for like an hour. Well, it turns
Mm-hmm.
out going straight after eating breakfast is the best thing for me because then once I get
Mm-hmm.
home, I crack on my job. I have a later lunch, which is ideal for me anyway, because otherwise it's just 9:30 and then 12. And I piss off. That's not enough of a gap, really. I get hungrier later. I have managed to be more proactive, and that's actually really helped. Means that on Sunday, I'm doing Soddle again. I might do some Warhammer painting again, and read some more books, and I don't know.
Oh yes, books.
I've been reading a book called Dynasty of Monsters. It's a Warhammer fantasy book. I'm kind of enjoying it. The whole vampire thing is quite interesting. Well, not well,
Oh,
they are
good.
vampire. Avengori, I believe they're called, but they're very, very different. Fucking strange,
Um,
but interesting. I'm
I'm
enjoying
glad
it.
that you are also enjoying things. Yes, this is
Yeah,
always good.
yeah. I've been playing on my guitar a little bit more, and carving out these larger windows has really helped. Lulu, you should have been in my Twitch stream earlier. I've got a new truck with a new horn. How am I supposed to honk your boobs if you're not there to listen to it? Sorry,
What?
it, it
Oh, okay.
it's an in joke. It's fine.
Ah, understood.
She arrives.
Anyways.
Yeah, she arrives on my stream, hits the thing that says "Hello, motherfucker," and I start honking my horn because she got.
Oh,
big
good.
boobs.
Good. Yes.
And as well,
Did you watch the? I figured this would be an interesting story to start off with. Did you watch the Fury Paul fight?
Yes.
What did you think?
Right. Okay. Congratulations to both competitors involved. Actually, I was more interested in the fight before. Badu Jack Makubu. Makubu had only lost once before, really, to Tony Bellew, who took the WBC belt. That was vacant, really. When Bellew sort of gave up the belt and did some shit.
Mm-hmm.
Makubu is a good cruiserweight fighter, and Badu Jack was a super middleweight WBC champion. In fact, the very guy that Jake Paul said he was going to beat up afterwards, Carl Froch, the literal legend, 4-time super middleweight champion, never stopped. The guy was only dropped twice, and he knocked both those guys out that dropped him. Twice. Okay? That's what he did. Right? Badu Jack wanted to fight him. Well, Badu Jack eventually won a world title at super middleweight, light heavyweight, and now cruiserweight. That was more important to me, because I wanted to see that. When it came to the main event, Tommy fought like somebody who had barely any amateur background. And it's true, he barely has any at all. He doesn't have... And you can't compare him to his brother. Tyson is nothing like him. Okay, they're different. Tommy is a light heavyweight fighting at a weight class in between cruiserweight and light heavy, which he shouldn't be doing in the first place. And his jab, his arms are so fucking long. If you've got such long arms, you use your jab and that's it. Don't tell me you're going to knock someone out. Don't bullshit me. By the way, he got dropped. He didn't slip. He got dropped in the 8th round. That was a drop, not a slip. I saw it. Jake Paul hit him first. All right, that doesn't matter if you slip. You were hit. Therefore, you were dropped. His jab was good. His slipping was good. Jake Paul's tactic was terrible. First of all, he had no defense. That was terrible. because that meant
Oh, that was a fucking trend. Oh my god, there was a trend the entire night. Nobody knew how to fucking put their arms up.
No, they didn't. And I guess with Tommy, it made some sense because Tommy's arms are so long. No, Jake Paul's tactic of overhand righting wouldn't work because they come in. Doesn't matter how fast you throw it. An overhand right stands out because we know exactly where you're going to position your body before you throw it. You have to shift your weight to one side. You have to put your left shoulder forward first to then twist your body like a spring. That means Tommy has all the time in the world to move out of the way of it or block it or hug you and get deducted a point for it. Okay, this is basic, okay, ergonomics. It was absolutely horrendous. Both of them did horrendous, really, but Tommy did win. He absolutely did. Jake Paul may want a rematch. I would tell him not to. I think he needs to stick and build a different career for a while, and in the future they can come back to the table, perhaps when both of them have some more wins. In the case of Tommy, legitimate wins and not this bloody TV bollocks looking like a superstar nonsense. Actually go become a boxer and stop being this superstar bullshit that you think you are. He hasn't got any decent wins on his record, so you can't brag about anything. And in the case of Jake Paul, I didn't think he was going to win in the first place. I didn't want him to win. But Jake Paul is young enough that actually he could do something. He could amount to something. But he needs to stop. He needs to go and fight some ordinary people. Just fight some, the tier boxers you start fighting. These are amateur fights he's been doing so far. Go have some real ones in the real ranks, and I mean in the sense of like go with people who've only got like one win to their name, one win, one loss, or are starting out, because that's the area he's at. He needs to build a resume. Not this box office crap, because if you're doing this, all you're doing is making it quite clear you're only interested in making the 30 mil that you made and nothing else. Okay, I don't see a reason for it. It's absolutely pathetic. He wants to be taken seriously. He needs to go and do the hard work part now. When boxers start out, you fight 6 times a year for your first few years. Okay, you have to put in that kind of work to be noticed, build up the resume, to then have the chance to win some regional titles, intercontinental, international titles. That's what he needs to do. He needs to do that. And now one of those idiots has some poxy paper title belt, a Diriyah Champion WBC event belt. Don't need a belt for this. One got paid 4.5, the other million, the other one got paid 30 million, and they did it in an area of the world where neither had to pay any tax on it. How about instead, just go and learn to be a boxer, and in the case of Tommy, actually go fight some people, because Carl Froch is right. At best, Tommy Fury could win a British title. Not much more, unless he actually learns to bloody well fight properly. Because he got deducted a point. He also got dropped by Jake Paul, which is why Jake Paul wants the rematch, because he now knows he can hurt Tommy Fury. He knows the tactics were wrong. This time, he's going to get in close and he's going to land some nasty uppercuts. And yes, for the sake of those who are wondering, if they do have a rematch, I think Jake Paul has a better chance of winning. Whether he wins or not, I'm not sure. But I do think he could win. I think he could drop Tommy again. And why? Because Tommy's got no defense either. His chin was out most of the time. Kept on bragging about knocking Jake Paul out. Motherfucker, you're as bad as Tyson. Tyson Fury used to brag all the time in his early career before Vladimir Klitschko that he'd knock everyone out. That man has, genuinely, that man up to that point, and actually including Vladimir Klitschko, had the softest hands in heavyweight boxing. He couldn't knock anyone. He almost knocked himself out once. Okay? Not even a joke. He did an uppercut and smashed himself in the face because he missed the person. I'm sorry, but you can't tell me you're all this, all that. But really, no offense to Furies, but you're not heavy hitters. The thing with heavyweight boxing is what makes it a little bit different is it turns out everyone in heavyweight boxing has a glass chin, which is embarrassing. In the case of Tommy Fury, though, congratulations, but fam, go do some real boxing, man. This is bullshit. This has been my TED Talk.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have to agree for the most part. Honestly, I was more interested in the lead-up fights than I was with the...
I just want to see Badou Jack win. I want him to, because he's 39, first Muslim to win a world title in that area of the world. A 3-time world champion as well, 3-weight world champion. The guy never lost a world title. He never lost.
There was one.
Go on.
There was one kid who was fighting, and his name was Ronald Martinez, and I believe he was Ecuador.
Yep.
And he went up against a guy of similar stature in record, but man lands a good shot in the first round. I think this one was only the 4 rounds. Lands a good shot in the first round, knocks down the opposing guy, who I believe was Saudi Arabia. Knocks him down, and then the rest of the time, the kid just gets beat up. Now, Martinez is 18.
Yeah.
And he started, I mean, you could see it. I mean, he got so tired, you started seeing those arms flailing, coming up over. He kept crossing his legs, getting off balance. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
However, this kid kept taking shots to the face and kept just shrugging it off, like shaking his head, coming back into it. I'm like, this he did not like get knocked out. He went the 4 rounds and lost.
Yeah.
But I mean, an 18-year-old was taking shots from this. I think it was 22 was his opponent, and he just would not go down. And he kept trying the whole way. And I'm like, that kid is gonna be good. He's bad now, but he's got the fortitude to actually withstand some punches. I got
there is a slight issue with that, and I agree. He's got fortitude. It's called punch resistance. See, we can build up a punch resistance, but there is a plateau, and we don't know yet where he is. So we don't know where he plateaus, whether his chin is genuinely going to be granite throughout his career like Carl Froch's, or whether it's going to suddenly drop off like James DeGale's. There are or Chris Eubank Jr.'s. It's just that thing of right now that is insane. That's fantastic, but I really want to know where it ends.
Right, that's fair. But I think he needs to do it over time, though. I want to see more of him, though. After seeing that fight, like I, as a very very basic follower of like the boxing, like just the genre, I want to see more of him. Just because of how goddamn just resilient he is. And I think that that's, for a layman like myself in boxing, I think that's the best thing he could ask for as the boxer, to get somebody interested in him watching.
Yeah. And just an interesting thing, because I want people to get paid well for their fights. It is estimated that, for example, Badu Jack, Makubu, they got paid roughly $500,000 and $350,000 each for that performance. Obviously, that's an undercard fight. In the case of Badu Jack, he needs a couple big paydays before he retires because he's, again, 39. He's the oldest cruiserweight world champion in existence.
Right.
And you don't want to be fighting much. And also, 500 grand is not actually what he got. 20% would have gone to the promoter, the event promoter. He would have lost up to 10%, maybe to his team. He would have lost another, perhaps 25% to his manager. So he would have gotten close to about $250,000, not as much as everyone thinks. Just thought I'd share that because I know my shit.
Right, and I knew you did, so that's why I wanted to ask about that before we jumped into the politics, because I know that happened just this past Sunday.
It was. I was actually in a VC with Wildling when the fights were going on. And I was like, "Yo, I need to know what happened with Badu Jack. I need to pay attention to this." Stop talking, woman.
So, all right. So where do you want to start? Because we've got a couple of different places we could go.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I would like to commence this evening's festivities. Currently in Scotland, they're having a 4-way. They're having a bit.
Oh, really?
Yes. There's 4 names who are currently jockeying for the. Or was it 3? I think it's 3 names. Sorry. To take over from Nicola Sturgeon. Well, Hamza Yusuf is one of them. He's the guy who is saying he doesn't want to curtail free speech, but he wants to control it. Yeah.
Yes, I do recall this man.
So he's currently one of the SNP leadership hopefuls. He insists that he supports same-sex marriage. Hamza Yusuf is Muslim, and this has caused a number of issues with people saying, I don't believe you. He had to deny deliberately arranging a meeting to discuss the case of a Scottish person on death row in Pakistan due to blasphemy, so he could skip the final vote on the issues in 2014, which is where people have now drawn the issue of contention. Because when the vote was passed in 2014, he was nowhere to be seen. Does that not look a little sus? It's a bit sus, isn't it?
Why, yes. Why, yes, it is. All the time, yes.
Now, he actually did appear on TV and did an interview, and he avoided any questions about it, like a good politician. He absolutely ignored it all. And I'm like, mother fluffer, you're being absolutely beaten up by this. So, who was it? You got human rights lawyer Mr. Anwar on behalf of Mohammed Ashgar, who Yusuf was meeting, whose Yusuf meeting was about. He put out a statement. Where was it? Where is it? Right, he says that the family was critical of the UK Foreign Office and that Ashgar was shot in the back in a cell at one point before being released. He was also on death row, and that on the same day that the vote happened, that was where he was. Not because of his perhaps his faith determining that he can't, be involved in this. Yeah, no, it's instead because he was genuinely somewhere else. I like to think of it as a bit too much of a coincidence, and I know I'm going to quote Sherlock here: "The universe is rarely so lazy," but it is apparently what happened, and so Hamza Yusuf has taken a bit of a pounding because of this one, understandably, because it doesn't really look that good, really, does it?
No, it does not.
There was one about Kate Forbes. I need to quickly go and get it because she's also being kind of thrown under the bus, I believe, over something similar. You have a husband also is apparently involved in like conservative crap. But what was the gay marriage thing with her? Gay marriage, because I think right, okay. So she feels burdened that some of her comments during a leadership contest have caused hurt. So she's a member of the Free Church of Scotland who said she believed that having a child outside of marriage was wrong according to her religious beliefs. So that's what apparently is causing the problem here. How dare you have a child how dare you not have children out of wedlock? Sorry. I personally, I don't understand how this is. Apparently to be a leader of anything in like Scotland, you have to be super duper progressive. So Kate Forbes wants to push for an independence vote almost immediately, even though she now knows it can't happen. The Supreme Court of the United Kingdom has said, "Get to fuck." It's not happening. It won't happen. So she ended up having to put out a statement talking about how this has been like she feels greatly burdened that some of her responses have caused the hurt. I would defend the hilt to the right of anybody in Scotland to live and to live without fear of harassment in a pluralistic and tolerant society.
Quite.
You know what that is? That's her saying, right, these laws exist. I now don't have an opinion in this. That's what it means. Thing is, I have no idea who's leading this right now. Who's like the top dog? I've not heard of Ash Reagan, who is the Labour, who's like not Labour. She's the third contender for this position, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Yusuf and Kate Forbes. You got three absolute twats. Two of them haven't got a bloody clue what they're talking about, and the third one may or may not have intentionally avoided a vote because his faith determined it. Which, in turn, by the way, saying he supports same-sex marriage, it kind of doesn't give off that impression. That vote really doesn't help, by the way. And I don't know if Scotland does vote by proxy. I would assume not at that point, because that wasn't something I believe many introduced till much later. The proxy thing's a bit of a tricky one anyway.
Mm-hmm. They send in a person to do that vote for him.
I'm not a big fan of the idea of doing it electronically. A proxy is not the worst idea. In politics, it's a tricky one, though, because that could be... I think when it comes to politics and the idea of vote by proxy, I think you have to be the one to cast the vote, regardless.
I think so as well, because otherwise you have people who will constantly put in doubt whether or not it was genuinely that person's vote. But of course, you can't say that it wasn't,
The
because then
integrity
you'll
is
open up
important.
right, because then you'll open up an entire can of worms where people say like, oh, well, this person's proxy vote wasn't accurate because
Exactly.
of whatever, and it's just a nightmare.
I think that it's it's a bit of a tricky area. I don't agree. I think in UK Parliament, I think we do have a proxy vote thing. I don't agree with it. I know that obviously you can say, oh, but maternity leave and injuries. I get it, but they could introduce a way to secure the vote with people present for the vote to be cast by that person. But at the same time, a lot of votes done in Parliament are done in certain rooms of the House of Commons. So I guess in that instance, you can't cast a vote. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, usually it used to be where if you weren't there, you didn't cast. You were absent, and that just counted against the total. But of
Agreed.
course, people can't risk that because in such a divided place where a lot of things hinge on one or two votes,
Yeah.
at least in the U.S., you can't risk having a different total.
Yeah.
Or else you have things just absolutely falling by the wayside.
Yeah. No, fully agree on that. And I think that with Scotland, much smaller parliament, votes are vastly more important in their parliament than they are in consider the size of the parliament. One vote is a huge difference in the remarkably SNP parliament, where they all just vote the same way regardless because they're all sheeple. In UK politics, it has come down to one vote before on a few things, and it has been broken, in fact, by the Speaker, who's invariably voted against the government on principle, which is hilarious. Burko, you'll never get into the House of Lords, ya bitch. I will keep everyone updated on the current leadership contest with the SNP, but in truth, I actually don't give a shit because not one of them is going to accomplish anything at all. You are a face of a devolved administration with limited powers who have just been proven to be limited because you tried to undermine the UK government's own equality laws to push your own agenda, to test the water, which backfired magnificently to the point I do believe now is a trans prisoner who's going to a male prison because you fucked that up as well. And yes, Dibula, I know you got very sensitive ears because you're a good Amish boy. How's your square-wheeled horse-drawn carriage? I just don't give a crap about the election too much because they're not going to do anything on the grand scale of things. If it's Yusuf, they'll say they've got their first Muslim first minister. Congratulations, you can virtue signal off on the top of the rooftops for that. If it's one of the other two, you can say, oh look, we've got another lady in charge and she's progressive too. Yay us. In reality, people are starting to get tired of the SNP anyway. The SNP are still popular, of course they are. The casual voters, of course, they want independence. I fully understand that. But there is a newer generation of SNP members coming through, and they're not like them. They're looking at these current SNP politicians, and they're like, you guys are old. Get the fuck off Twitter, you little bitches.
Right.
This has been my second TED Talk. Your turn.
All right, so we can talk about Ohio. We can talk about Alex Murdaugh.
I saw that earlier. I actually did grab a thing. So he got. I don't know who he is. I just saw. I got my phone. My phone gave me an alert earlier, saying that this U.S. lawyer was guilty of killing his wife and son, and his sentencing hearing is today. And I'm like, but who is this guy?
Okay, so let's do that one then. Okay, so Alex Murdaugh is a South Carolina former prosecutor. He is a lawyer of what we would call old money, right? So him, his family, he had been in the law. His family had been in law in South Carolina for many years. He has been credited for putting gang members away, putting high profile people away, as well as a whole bunch of smaller criminals.
Okay.
So he was accused in, I believe it was 2021 was when
June.
this had happened. Yes, June
I
2021.
I just pulled NASCAR up. 7th of June 2021.
Yeah, where he was accused and now found guilty of killing his wife and son.
Why would he want? Do we know what the motivation for such a thing is?
So we can speculate.
Okay.
So Alex Murdaugh and his family had a boating incident.
What if like fraud is about to come up here?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
okay.
No. It's always fraud, man. It's always fraud.
Yeah. So Paul Murdaugh, actually the kid who died, right? Paul Murdaugh took his family's boat out for a night of partying with friends on the Beaufort River. And that night, that boat crashed and killed a girl named Mallory Beach.
Okay.
And when they were looking into that issue, they discovered that Paul Murdaugh had been doing a whole bunch of very suspect financial transactions. Things from fraud to embezzling on his company.
He killed them he killed them as a form of concealment.
I think so. Well, I guess the jury thinks so too.
Well, it must be fairly convincing if he's been found guilty.
Yeah, that's the thing. For a while, I thought that Alex Murdaugh was actually doing better than he was. But that might have been because I wasn't actively watching it nearly as in-depth as I watched.
I was on Twitter earlier and I saw a video and it cracked me up. It was O.J. Simpson. It was a 3-minute video of him talking about the Murdaugh case. And then he made it all about himself and talking about how he went to prison 9 to 33 because he was defending what belonged to him, and eventually it was proven actually all that stuff did belong to him and it was stolen from him. And I'm like, motherfucker, people are shitting on you right now, and I just wanted to know why people were talking about this Alex Murdaugh guy, because I don't know who he is.
So I think the thing that screwed him the most, because I agree with some of the things that he had to say. For example, one of the statements that he made is he has a distrust of SLED. SLED is a South Carolina law enforcement division that is separate but is used in conjunction with the state police.
Okay.
So SLED is essentially an investigative agency that will go through and actually perform different law investigative duties that, let's say, the police don't want to actively pursue. They'll pursue things like, I'll give you an example in college, actually. Because I went to school in South Carolina. One of my buddies was running a store. The store sold alcohol. And he was actually doing the owner a favor, and he stayed late that night and closed. That location closed at 3 a.m. Okay. And then, because they had no one to open the next day, the same guy, my buddy, offered to then open as well at 6 a.m. Man went home, maybe had an hour or two worth of sleep before he got back up and went back to work because he needed the money. He had actually there was a lot of bullcrap that happened, unfortunately, to him in the form of identity fraud, which kind of ruined his college situation. But SLED comes in the next morning, and they posed. It was a younger looking agent posing as a 19-year-old, hands my buddy a ID that specifies that they are 19 and puts a beer on the thing. And man is so fucking sleep deprived, he goes, "Yep, that's fine," and sold it to him. Well, then they get cited by SLED. Well, the owner, being a good guy, actually went to court and said, "This is my fault. Do not blame him. This is my fault because I didn't have enough workers and he helped me out. So do not fine him, fine me, the owner of the business, because that's not his fault." So I'm happy that the guy actually went to court on behalf of my buddy. But those are the kind of things they do, basically entrapment kind of stuff.
Okay.
There's another instance, there's another case that's going on, or that went on, I think it was 2 years ago, where somebody was growing industrial hemp, and SLED comes and tries to basically tell him that he can't have it. It's a legal product. He goes, no, I don't think it is. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. And he goes, well, we're gonna demolish it. He goes, no, you're not without my lawyer. Because they didn't have a court order to destroy it.
Right.
They destroyed it anyway, and now they're being sued. So it's shit like that. So in one case, the distrust of SLED, I understand. Because I don't like the fact that we have a separate law enforcement agency outside of police. Or we had, rather. When I was in college. But the other thing is, okay, so now you have him on site. He's basically saying that because of his distrust of SLED, his paranoia and anxiety acts up, and which he admits on the stand that he intentionally lies to investigators.
Okay.
This begins a stream of comments by the prosecutor basically saying, so why did you lie? Hang on, taking something out of my bag. Okay, so basically it says, why did you lie? At what point did you decide that you were going to lie to investigators? Because that already casts you in a bad light. And he never really answers a bunch of questions. He said that he wasn't at the kennels at the time of, before the murders happened. Well, a little while later, turns out that wasn't true either. The guy had a history of lying, as it turns out. And he can't remember on the stand those crucial details. So instead of, some people said that it's typical that every day of a trial usually equates to 1 hour worth of deliberations. Mm-hmm. Nah, not this one. This one took 3 hours after 28 days of trial.
That's quite short.
They fucking slaughtered him.
That does not surprise me. Yeah.
No, I mean it was a very quick and dirty kind of case. It seemed.
So I saw earlier, obviously found guilty in his sentence here come up. He was given 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Now, does that mean are they concurrent, consecutive, and does it without parole mean he'll do his life sentence and never see outside of a prison ever again?
That is correct. So parole is the idea that you get off on good behavior and you might be allowed to be in society once again. Right?
So life sentences over here is 25 years. We don't do whole life orders unless it's a really specific thing. That's essentially is a whole life order.
I believe murder in South Carolina does possess. I think the max was like 50 years.
Yeah. Which
for him is essentially a life sentence.
Well, he's 54, so
but yes,
I guess the question now is, was it all worth it? Because you just lost your wife, your son, your entire life and livelihood. It would have been better if you went to prison for fraud. You'd have more chance of being out of prison at some point.
I don't know why he did it. I think there might be more to this story than we even know, like from an outsider's perspective. Because I have a hard time believing that you were going to get got for money. And so in order to, instead of like taking the fall for the rest of the family, saying it was my fault, it is not the fault of my family, please do not come after them. Man said, nah, you can't come after them if there's no family left.
Man should have manned up.
I think so too. I think this is the result of somebody who was trying to hope that his experiences might have saved him on the stand, but instead, I think ended up actually screwing him over.
Yeah.
Now, again, I didn't watch enough of the trial personally because, as I had said at the start, I thought he was doing well because I had only seen when the defense was questioning him on the stand, like for an extended period of time. So I was only hearing the curated questions from the defense attorney to the defendant.
Yeah.
So of course it sounds a lot better when you're that guy or in that position. So I mean, I'm not upset that somebody who did the thing got, arrested. I only hope that it was correct.
Yeah.
Like I want if it's true, I want him to just say it now.
Yeah.
Because nothing ever bothers me more than somebody who constantly will insist on their innocence even after they've been in prison, because it just makes me think over and over again, what if it was wrong, right? Because this guy had a whole lot of people who could have been upset with him, right? From anywhere from any family member of any gang or any gang member that he put away to, I mean, anything of the sort. If he's telling the truth and is just really, he looks really bad on the stand.
Yeah.
What have we done?
Mm-hmm. So, just quick thing in the chat. The judge explicitly said life without the possibility of parole. So, whereas others mentioned eligibility for parole, I don't believe that means he'll ever be eligible for parole.
Correct.
And also, just in case you're curious, he is now being passed over to the South Carolina Department of Corrections before being taken to Kirkland Correctional Institution for a 2-month evaluation before he is then classified and then, determined which place he will then be sent to spend the, rest of his natural-born life.
And because he's a rich person with connections, I bet you it's going to be cozy.
I mean, it depends on how much has been seized, if any.
Oh, I know. It's just usually that the people, like normal people, like you and I presume people in the chat, we don't get the appreciation or the considerations that some of the people do.
Yeah,
that
no, you're right.
Prison.
Yeah, and no worries, Dib. I just wanted to make sure that it was the one thing I remembered when I saw it earlier before I closed the tab, because I'm precious. I love it. Basically, it mentions here his family lived on a 1,700-acre hunting estate in Islandton?
Sure.
Is that how you pronounce it? Islington?
Probably.
It's island, like a block of land.
Yeah, it's probably I think it's Islington.
Islington. Okay, well, let's go with that. 1,700 acres. Fam, we can't get a quarter acre over here. And you had all that, and now you barely got like a 6x4 shed space. It's not worth it, you silly bitch. And you've taken 2 people. Just come on.
Right.
I'm half tempted to do halls of injustice on this prick, but I think you should. I would need a fair few sources collected and compiled.
Secretary, if you're not busy this weekend, find me some stuff, please.
The good news is there's a whole, the whole thing was live streamed, like the whole trial.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised. Well, I'm looking at a picture of this guy, by the way. He is punching, even though older, but he's punching way above his average. I'm just saying. He's ginger, of course he is.
That's what I thought too when I saw him. Like, this is not what I imagined you'd look like when I first saw him.
I mean, I had 2 pictures. One was a side view picture, and he looked really like imposing. And then I've got one here of him with his wife on the back of a boat, and I'm like, motherfucker, you're wearing a shirt that's too big for you. Your arms are too skinny. Your hands are too big. You're ginger. Get wrecked.
Now
bitch.
I do believe he still has some family alive. I don't know if it's.
I don't think they'll want anything to do with them, will they?
Well, I think that all of his stuff will probably be inherited by the family at this point.
It'd be like that guy who took out his 2 daughters and his wife, who was already pregnant with his son. Do you remember that guy?
Oh wait, hold on. Yes, I think so.
Like, no one wants anything to do with him. Who would want to?
The only thing that I would want is the location, right? Like, obviously, I would want his fucking property. If it were somebody, like, if I could get the chance, I would totally want the property.
Oh, the house.
That's just it's too nice, right?
Yeah, the house. I believe the house in that particular, the one I just mentioned, I believe that actually is that was sold to a family.
Yeah, I would want the house, if anything. If nothing else, I want the house or the land. you can take all of his assets and shit to give me the land and house and all that shit. I don't care about the boat. I don't care about none of that shit.
I'll take Alex Murdar's land. I'll just put a little tent in the garden somewhere. I'll be quite happy. I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't require much, and on that land it's hunting, which means I'm going hunting.
Yeah.
For
you, your hunting could literally go the full, British fucking cavalry with all the bloodhounds. You could even put on the red jacket and get on a horse.
You gotta remember the horse riding hat. And actually, we'd rather use a spaniel, because a spaniel will fuck a horse and everything else up.
Well, you're not hunting the horse, you imbecile.
But if I can't find anything, the horse is open game.
I'll just take off the saddle and let it go.
I could be a really shit hunter. I just have to have horse lasagna. That was sold here for a few years before a supermarket chain got busted for it. And they're like, but it tastes the same as everything else. Like, motherfucker, it says pork on it.
It's not what you said. It's not what it is.
It tastes a bit leaner, a bit more elegant, perhaps. You bastard.
Maybe.
Might have been the horses that died at the races. Once they break a leg.
And the ones that weren't turned into glue.
Well, that, and also, once they break a leg or something at a horse race, they're instantly just shotguns just put in their mouth.
Yeah.
We don't eat the head after all.
But
we eat literally everything off a fucking pig.
True. And it's good. Tastes great.
I mean, I'd agree, but I know a lot of
Muslims don't know what they're missing.
I mean, I'd say the same for those who don't like black pudding. I generally think it's fantastic. White pudding's quite nice as well, to be honest. But that's without the blood. But they're delicious puddings. Yeah, highly recommended with custard.
Mm.
No.
Yes.
Even I might have to take that one back. That's a bit blasphemy right there.
Yes.
All right.
But yeah, so that's the Alex Murdaugh thing. I'm interested to see. I want him to actually say that yes, he did it, and I want him to give an explanation why. Because on the off chance, right, that just the evidence was circumstantial and the jury just didn't like him.
Yeah.
I want to know for certain that he did it and we put him away and it's just how it is.
But will he actually say anything? Will he actually say why? The thing is,
I don't know. Even OJ wrote a book that said, if I had did it.
The guy who killed his two daughters, he went to prison for life, killed his two daughters, his pregnant wife who had his son. I can't remember his name, but he gave an interview not so long ago, and he spoke about all this as well, and how he's treated in prison, and he's like, it's almost like he's a normal guy now. And I don't get it, because I'm like, motherfucker, you committed a humongous genocide here. You shouldn't. You need to start talking about what you did and telling us why you did it. Really, why you did it, because you didn't during the trial.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
I mean, OJ still stands by the fact that he didn't do it, so I'm not holding my breath.
Christopher Lee Watts. That's your name, you bitch. The Watts family murders. That's the guy who killed his two daughters. Yeah. But,
yeah, and that's why I thought I remembered it, because his name was Christopher Lee.
Yeah, well, very memorable. But he gave a load of he gave an interview. He was sat in a prison. In fact, it was a video thing, and it's just nah. And I hope this Alex dipshit. I hope he comes clean at some point, because this is bullshit. How to hunt a ginger, turn the lights up. They will just. I'll be honest. How to hunt a ginger, turn the lights on. They will incinerate.
Mm-hmm.
How do you?
What's even worse?
Go on.
What's even worse is that his mother is like horribly sick.
Well, that's unfortunate. I hope she gets some of his money then.
And like is basically on like a hospital bed.
Really?
And I'm like, I hope somebody from the family still goes to see her.
That'd be nice.
Because that would be such a terrible shame.
Elderly are often neglected, to be honest, and I hate saying that, but that is normally what happens. But yeah, if you how just for those in the chat who are interested, and of course I'm going to crack a joke here. It says Peter Yosaurus has written on the YouTube chat how to hunt a ginger. Turn the lights up; they will just glow. I like to eat my ginger medium, preferably without any hair on it. So what we do is we eviscerate first skin, and then we just stick them on the George Foreman.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Maybe you sprinkle a little whiskey on there to really moisten up that meat.
Is there another way? Because I have not heard.
No, there isn't. It's the only way, brother.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't even know how to respond to that. Okay, so let's go on to a different story now that we've handled the murders.
Yeah, that's been fascinating.
So they recently found. I actually think that this will be something that you'll be interested in because the last time we talked about the train derailment,
the Ohio thing.
Yes.
Okay.
So there have been on Thursday, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency ordered rail operator Norfolk Southern to begin testing for dioxins.
Oh, really?
In the water. Now, keep this in mind that I might be completely incorrect in my assessment here because I got this information from TikTok from a person who had done chemistry at a collegiate level. So, with all respects, dioxins, they were using it as a transport mechanism when they were doing. Well, I'm sorry. The guy on TikTok said that when he used dioxins, that they were basically used as a transport mechanism that he was using in order to basically do whatever shit he was doing. But the interesting thing is that dioxins apparently can denature and destroy DNA.
Well, they can cause cancer and they can affect one's reproductive ability. They do cause genetic issues like developmental issues. They do harm the immune system. I mean, it's actually factually correct. If you've got an endocrine system, all humans apparently have one, it will like sticking a magnet up to a radio antenna interfere with it.
And they said that there is likely dioxins in the soil and in the water.
Yeah, that ground needs to be dug out and take it. You know how you dispose of toxic waste and you put it in somewhere safe location? Yeah, Ohio's land is now about to become that.
Ah, good. Glad to hear that.
I don't know if there is a counter chemical for dioxins. I really don't, I'm afraid. I'm thinking like chlorinated dibenzo CDDs. Or polychlorinated biphenyls. Well, a biphenyl is possible, I guess, to do something. But polychlorinated, no, not so much.
But that whole area is about to be toxic waste.
It's highly toxic. Highly toxic. That is, because don't forget here, dioxins, like, for example, they're caused by, like, normally they're part of, like, aerial transportation, like planes, that kind of shit, incineration of certain types of waste as well. But these are different types, very different types of dioxins. Very different. It gets very messy. I need to know the exact one to be certain of it.
They don't. At least this article from ABC News does not specify. I will send it to you for your own interest.
Oh, please do.
I will see if there's another one that specifies. But let's see here. That's an interesting thing. The Guardian. Here's the real reason the EPA doesn't want to test for toxins in East Palestine.
It's interesting. The EPA is mentioned there. The European, we have the EC, the European fact sheet on dioxins in feed and food. Because, for example, some analysis did actually confirm there are dioxin-like toxins above normal limits in eggs, tissues, and feed for chickens.
Which that's is causing, great.
But that's Europe. That's not America. Thankfully, it's not the UK either. We actually just have a shortage on eggs for other reasons. Yeah. Have I seen the Ohio Fallout memes? No, I have not. They got what they wanted it for. Yes, they did. You're right, Shadowband. Thank you for that. And yes, I spoke like an absolute moron. It is what I do here. And F in the chat for the ginger who we are going to cook on a grill and devour, aka Wildling.
Oh, is she also a ginger?
I would assume as much. I'm very forgetful on people's hair color.
But yeah, I thought that would be something interesting for you, because what would you say if you had to be a person? Let's just say that with your limited knowledge on, and I'm only saying limited for the sake of
casual.
Yeah. What would you say is if you had to give instructions to the residents of, let's just say, the surrounding 20 miles from the city? And then second, what would you expect the potential fallout would be from if dioxins were in the water in Ohio?
We need to know where their water is coming from, whether they are using that water as drinking. If that is a source of drinking water, fishing water, or anything where they would get something out of that water, they got to stop. Straight away, they have to stop.
There's actually a bottling plant that already has moved out of the state.
That doesn't surprise me, and that's unfortunate. That's probably going to cost a few jobs, unless it's all mechanized, in which case, all right, it's fine.
I don't think so.
The testing of the people who live there, they need to avoid touching the ground as well with their hands. That shit's got to be dug out, and it's sunk in. It's not going to be dug out at all. They got to find a way to either cover it or neutralize it. It's not as simple as that, though, because you need to produce a lot to be able to do it. It's expensive, and I think only certain people should be paying for that, not the taxpayer. That should be paid by the people who fucked up. I think that until we know the results of the EPA's dioxin testing, the speculation would still be everyone who lives within 20, 30 miles needs to consider leaving. And consider leaving not just because you're not going to have a decent water supply, but also because you're not going to have there's not going to be much going on here anymore. You've killed that wreckage has killed that area. As far as growing an economy, it's not going to happen now because it's ruined the area. So they need to leave.
I'm inclined to agree.
I don't want them to leave, by the way. I don't know which dioxin it is. For now, they should make preparations to leave the area, though, if they can. If they're stuck, I'm really sorry.
To Shadowband in the chat, yes. Okay, so if you looked at a picture of the Ohio River, the Ohio River on a map actually does trickle down into other states.
Does it?
It does. Ooh. A bit. In particular, you're looking at in Ohio, the Ohio River can, just if I take this picture and I send it to you.
Please do.
Actually, let me get one with let's do that one because it's got things on it. So if Ohio River is contaminated, if we look at East Palestine the map.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
East Palestine in Ohio Ohio map, please. Images. Thank you.
For those who don't know, he's trying to send me the right picture. He's trying to find me the right picture, and he's getting the wrong thing.
Well, I typed in East Palestine, and guess what? I know. East Palestine.
Oh, I know what you got.
Awesome. Okay, so Palestine, Ohio is pretty much on the border of what is that? That is fucking Indiana.
Yeah, it's Indiana. Yeah,
Indiana and Ohio is basically up there. So you're looking at anywhere from that point down from the river.
Okay.
So you have the potential to go into, and what's really unfortunate about it is that it has the potential to go down into Indiana and into the rest of Ohio, which goes down to West Virginia and Virginia, which tracks if you think, which tracks because they were talking about how West Virginia actually has a plume of chemicals heading their way.
Oh, lovely. That's what they want.
So we have the potential that these dioxins spread to not only Ohio, but West Virginia, and according to the map, any waterway that touches the Ohio River from that point. So you're looking at Kentucky, parts of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And Kentucky is basically wholly fucked.
Why is there not as much of a response to this yet?
Because I don't know if anybody has, really found out whose fault is it really. Because they did find that the sensors were working properly, and that the crew did get a message that their wheel bearing was gonna go.
For those in the chat asking on YouTube, this is the image Trups sent me. Ohio at the top, to the left, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Unless this map is not accurate and Indiana is no longer in that position.
If Indiana is not in that position, I think we have aliens.
Fair enough. I'm now going to remove it because you've now seen it.
Ohio River is very large.
I've noticed. It looks quite big. By map. Remove that. Cool. Okay, so again, I've heard about things going on in your politics. I fully, and tinfoil hat time, very much that, Dibs. I fully understand that with with what's going on. That you've got a lot on your plate as a nation. I fully get that, but this is an issue that affects multiple states.
Yeah, I mean, because right now, if I'm looking at the United States map, East Palestine is right on the border of Indiana and Ohio. So that means that based on that image, you have anywhere that goes down from that point.
Yeah.
And because both potentially have lower elevations, you have a major problem. Now, what's lucky is that if you can't necessarily cross the Appalachians with that river, because the Appalachians would take precedent in terms of waterways, because large mountain range.
Yeah.
So I mean, Kentucky on the other hand is fucked. So like Kentucky's just straight up fucked.
That's okay. Anne Boleyn Reed lives there. It's fine. They can feast on her for a few months.
Is that the same person who is I've been told has fucked up their cat's health?
No, that's Foodie Beauty, and she's fucked off to Kuwait to be with her fake husband.
Oh, good for her. Hopefully she encounters some culture out there.
Well, she went there once before and almost got arrested for it, so yes.
Oh, good. Glad to know the world's working the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, I'll give it a few days.
But yeah, so I thought that would be an interesting little tidbit. In the meantime, we've got a whole bunch of fuckery happening. But that's just if you want to know about more of the daily fuckery, you can follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, please do. I was about to say I posted on our server that we obviously post stuff on. I posted one of your tweets where you simply tweeted, "Geez, Joe, just say you don't want minorities having kids."
Oh yeah, well that was because there was literally a thing. It says if Congress passes a national abortion ban, I will veto it.
Yeah, I will veto it. Yeah.
And that was from Joe Biden that he posted that image.
Yes, it was.
Now, everybody knows that abortion clinics and whenever they talk about abortion, they always talk about lower income people being directly affected by the usefulness and the necessity for access to such things.
Yeah.
If you are instating or saying that you will not allow people to kill their unborn children, you are saying that you wish for minorities to have less children.
I can see that going down really well.
Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't say that, like, you wouldn't use the lower income people as your, as your crutch when talking about abortion. Yeah. Obviously, minorities are the people who are on your mind when you think of abortion. So what you're telling me is that abortion is necessary to keep blacks and Mexicans down in population.
Well, the wrong voting ones, of course.
Well, they're importing the other ones.
Just remember, if you're black and you don't vote Democrat, you're not really black.
I have heard that from Joe Biden himself.
Still won him an election.
The uninformed voter is a powerful demographic.
I mean, yeah, the casual, they really don't pay attention. They're just like, he looks white enough. Sweet. He was friends with, he has a black friend called Barack. I know a guy called Barack. I voted for him too. You know, the guy who served 3 years as a senator and had literally no experience in any form of high office and voted on only one thing, which was a register to say he was in attendance.
And killed more people in foreign countries than, I think, all of COVID in America.
Weird flex, isn't it? And he was cool.
I'm not quite sure about the validity of that statement, but I want to imagine that those numbers are comparable.
He was so cool, everyone. He had a BlackBerry and everything.
No need to kill the poor, just encourage them to keep killing themselves. Well, if we keep sterilizing children, we don't have to worry about that.
Woo, thinking ahead.
Sorry, is that too spicy for this channel?
I don't know, but can you see the moral high ground? Or is it too dark down there?
Oh, it is bright as shit. It's just really fiery. It's kind of hot.
Yeah, I was wondering.
But I'll sit in my fire being correct.
Yeah. Well, yes. You take your high death horse.
But yeah, if you wish to follow me for more quote unquote hot takes, you can follow me at twitter.com/TrupsLP, which I've linked in chat because I'm a good streamer.
He has. He's very good at doing that. It's very, very generous of him to provide you with a link.
That is not a link.
Yeah, I was about to say because it doesn't work, and I'm going to go and post it myself because he's an idiot. There it is. Yeah. Congratulations, everyone. We made it to the end of a stream. You've got his link. Go follow him. Oh, and we also have a shared Twitter that neither of us really use. But I do post from time to time.
I may or may not have lost the password.
All right. Well, I'll go and log out, log back in, and send it to you later.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything Trups would like to do, promote, say, or dig a hole for, which will guarantee not get this stream monetized? I'm not even going to bother.
I will not be here next week.
That is handy because I've got a friend visiting. So
great.
Next week, I might talk to Dave and see about doing another whiskey stream here on Friday instead.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This has been jolly good fun, actually, because I had a whole thing set aside topic-wise, and we haven't touched it, which means I get to make a video on that somewhere else. Even better. Again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Say goodnight, Trups.
Good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups.